Good morning, everyone. Today is Sunday, November 2nd, and it's time for another update to the RODY account. Figured I'd throw this in for those of you that are live. Obviously, this is the video before the other video. We're going to do a double header starting a few minutes early to make sure I have enough time. But anyway, let's get to it. So I'm going to try to explain RODY real quick. So again, the idea behind this is I'm doing my own options trading, which I have been, right? But I'm trying something a little different. Now, think of it as, everyone hears poor man's covered call. What the hell is a poor man's covered call, right? Sounds like it's for broke people, right? Perfect, right? Sounds good to me, right? So, the idea behind it is instead of owning the 100 shares of anything, which can get expensive, right? For example, if you own 100 shares of something that's $200, that's $20,000. All right, that's just a little expensive. All right. So, but if you buy a call on something at that price, if it's let's see, 20, if it's 20, I don't even know where I pulled these numbers from, but let's just use them. If you buy a call for the same shares with an expiration date of, let's just say January, it's not, not that long dated, 3 months out, that would cost you $2,170. So what you can do is once you have that long call, you can sell calls on that contract, essentially. So that's the poor man's covered call. They call it that because, again, you're broke ass. You can only afford $2,170 versus $20,000, right? Something like that, which makes sense, right? Makes sense. However, that's not what I do. I do a little more than that. So, think of it as a more, super poor man's covered call in a way with downside protection. So why is that? Well, because not only do I buy a call, because again, you can stop there, right? You don't have to do anything else. If you just buy the call and you sell calls, that's fine. You don't really have any downside risk except the expense of the long call, right? So, if that's what you want to do, perfect, right? That sounds good. And it is good. It is great. However, don't forget, like if you let's think of YieldMax. A lot of you are familiar with YieldMax and what they do. They do a buy, call, sell, put, same strike, same expiration. And that essentially kind of offsets the expense of the long call, right? Now here, I know I have it exactly 2170. That's not usually the case. Let's just say it's $20. So usually you'll get a little less for the put. If you're selling at the money, of course, when you sell at the money, normally the long call will be a little more expensive than the sold put, right? So if I take that, I multiply it by 100 shares. Again, this is for one contract. That'll give you a credit of $2,000. All right. Now this is only costing you $170. So between these two trades, you can do the same thing. You could sell calls on the long call, but now you only paid $170 out of pocket. However, do not forget, since you are selling this put for $200, you got to have collateral, brah. You got to have collateral of whatever the expense is. Again, if this goes south, you need $20,000. All right. So in the end, doing these two transactions, you still technically need that $20,000. So doing just these two, it's not really a poor man's covered call. It's a synthetic combo, they call it, right? But you still need the collateral. But, we add something, and I say we because I'm not the only one. There's people on my Discord that thought of this, that showed me, mainly SB. But we also add downside protection because, again, once you sell that put, now you are at risk. So not only obviously is the risk the expense of the long call, the risk is now the downside of this whatever stock you choose, right? So if it goes down to zero, oh yeah, $20,000 is gone, all right, essentially. However, for that, in case that happens, we buy a put. Now, when you buy a put, that's essentially, downside protection. So if you buy a put approximately, we'll say 20% away from the strike, 160, you have protection of anything under 160. So, but when you buy something, that's going to cost you money. All right. You go to the store, you buy something, you got to pay your money. Well, obviously that's not ideally. What's a good put? I don't even know. What example was this? I'm trying to think. Was this Robinhood? Let me just double check. 21. No. Elf, was it Elf? No. Just trying to get an idea of a good cost. So this was 29. We'll just do like $10 or something. Sorry, I'm just trying to give an example. Let's just say it costs $10. And I know screw up the signage on the sheet, but whatever. So that's going to cost you an additional $1,000, right? So now if you net everything together, well, we'll just add it down here. Is everyone following along? I know some of you joined late. By the way, good morning, all of you. Thank you for being here. Good morning, Nikki. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Biggest Woody. Thanks for confirming the sound. I completely forgot to even ask. Good morning, Eugen. By the way, guys, Eugen is also a YouTuber. Go check him out. He does great news updates, and I heard he's going back to live soon, which is cool. JD Invest, thanks, Rod. I'd like the new changes. That's good to hear because I know a lot of people are dropping because of these changes. But you know what? I'm just going to start doing more of what I want to do. And then obviously I'm still going to cover high yield ETFs because I think it's important to understand how they work. But I want to do a little more of my own investing just to share. And if it helps a few people, great. If not, it is, at least I had fun. Good morning, staff. Is George and all that. And thanks again, Nikki, for confirming the sound. All right. So now out of pocket, 1,170. So now we got to buy call. We got to sell put. We got to buy put. All right. So what do these three do? They have the same, well, two of them have the same strike. The put has the lower strike, but they all have the same expiration date. But the key here, now instead of holding $20,000 in collateral, you're only holding the difference between the sold put and the buy put, which is $40, right? Times 100 shares. Okay, that's $4,000. That's a little more reasonable. All right. So that's your collateral. That's also your risk, right? That's your downside risk. So if whatever stock this is goes to zero, you lost $4,000 basically. All right. So that's kind of the idea behind it. And yes, it's still cheap. I mean, that's cheap. $1,170 versus $20,000. But of course, yeah, you should add the two. You should add the 4,000 plus the 1,170. And that's what I'm saying. This is the capital that I'm using to do the trades. Okay. So now that I did these three, I'm calling it a synthetic collar. That I don't even think that's the right name for it. It's also called a RODY. But it's called whatever the hell you want, chicky chicky bang bang, banana hammock, whatever you please. But now you can sell calls on it. So the idea of once you do this, again, ideally I'm going to choose an expiration date a little further out. But this was kind of, I think I had this date from the Elf play, which we'll get into. I know I'm kind of this is taking way too long actually, but I'm trying to make sure people understand the idea behind it. So let me know if this helps or if I should just get my ass moving here. But now I'm going to sell a call week out, right? And I'm going to sell a call at the money, $200, right? I mean, that sounds risky, doesn't it? And that's going to give me a credit of what we got here. Yeah, I got the signage screwed up again. Yeah, I mean, I want to make, okay, to be consistent with the rest of the spreadsheet, I got to fix this. Yeah, so buy negative. All right. All right. So that's a, this is a credit of 984. Again, this is a large credit, but I think it's over earnings, for example. Let's just assume it's over earnings. But now I got a 984 credit. I already got, now the expense is down to 186, which again, the idea is you're going to keep selling calls on that money until this whole thing expires, at least as long as you can, right? Or if you get assigned early or whatnot. But why risk it, right? Why would I sell 200? Well, again, because I had the long call. If I get blown through the 200, if it goes to 210, who cares? I made that same, we'll call it intrinsic value on, this transaction. So I made that money. Plus, don't forget, this will have more, since it's further dated, more of the extrinsic. So the premium value of this will always be more. So should I have to roll the entire thing, it'll be a credit because this long call is going to be worth more than this short call. So again, we'll get into that when it actually happens. I kind of rushed that part, but I just need to get into the update now. All right, real quick on the watch list, I'm trading 4 stocks now. I got Open, SOFI, ELF, and Hood. I want to add Palantir. They have earnings Monday after hours. And I want to add Meta. Meta's so damn expensive. I tried. I almost did it. And I was like, I can't do it. It's just too damn expensive. The thing is $648. Even doing it this way, it was too expensive for me. But I couldn't do it. Palantir, I was going to do it at 180. And I was going to be brash and do a 200 strike. And I didn't do it. And here we are now. It's at 200. So my dumb ass, that's what I get. But I still, like, if Monday morning is a dip, I still may add it. If Monday morning's green, I don't know. I guess I'll just watch from afar and then hope that it dips after earnings, and then I'll add my position because I do want a piece of this Palantir action. So I got crazy earnings. We got Palantir this week. We got freaking Robinhood. We got ELF. We got Open. So a lot of this is happening. It's happening this week. So get ready. All right, quick update on Open. No new synthetic positions from the last update, so I won't bore you with that. I'll go right to the covered calls. I had 4 expiring on Happy Halloween. By the way, if you have questions while I'm doing this, I will cover them live because I know there's not as many people watching this type of video, so I can answer pretty much all the questions so far. So you'll see on Open, I've been trying to just keep it simple. And just roll them, right? Roll the 50. Let's see. I rolled 3 of the 4. I let the highest strike expire worthless, the 9, because obviously I knew that had no chance of getting assigned. Because I really don't want these to get assigned since they are essentially a poor man covered call. They're because if one gets assigned, I have to cover the shares that do not exist. So instead of dealing with that, obviously I'll avoid it as much as I can. Because if it happens, it happens. I'll deal with it. I haven't dealt with a scenario like that yet, but I'm kind of excited to, honestly. But why rush it? So anyway, I rolled 3. I let 1 expire, and now here we are. Oh yeah, and you can see here the close premium. For this coverage, I actually am adding the closing premium under the individual line. So you can see, yes, these are all, almost 100% profit on those trades. So I'm going to grade these out, and let's see what we're left with. So we're left with about 5, right? 5 contracts, covered calls, 850, 9, 750. I'm all over the place. I'm scattered. And I got 1 out to 1114. But note, synthetic wise, how many contracts do I have? Oh, I did 3 here, and then I did 3 here, right? Let me separate these via line. So I have 6 contracts. I'm only selling calls on 5. I'm essentially leaving the door open in case that Monday is a pop. If Monday pops green, guess what? Boom, selling that call. Probably do 1114. Then go from there. Again, I'm just making money, Open. Why am I doing Open? Because I could afford Open doing the wheel, right? Because I didn't know what the hell I was doing in the beginning, and I had to choose a cheap stock so I don't screw some stuff up. So that's why I'm doing Open, to be honest. and we'll see how it goes. You know, I may right now for the price of open, once this whole thing is done, I might just wheel open because it's so cheap. I don't know. Again, I have to think about it because it is annoying having so many contracts. It makes it a little more complicated, but we'll get into that later. But obviously you could see I brought in a whole crap load of premium again, $329 in addition, which we'll get into that at the end. So here's the background of the synthetic position and where we stand. 6 contracts, strike price $8 on the buy call sell put. Short put is long put $6. So essentially, you know, the downside is the $2 per share there. Current value of the synthetic is $942. You can see the breakdown here. Since I spent $1,200 for that the whole synthetic, and it's worth $942, I am down on the position about $258. I also add here how much capital did I save by doing this trade versus straight up wheel strategy, right? I saved $2,400, and again, I have downside protection, so that's the beauty. All right, now let's move on to SOFI. So SOFI, I have a total now of 1 + 2 + 2, 5 synthetic contracts. I added it when it was up right before the freaking interest rate news, and I thought the interest rate news would make it pop, and I should have known better. It went down. So I added a 31, kind of screwed up my cost basis, but it's okay. It's okay. So now I have 5 contracts on SOFI. So if I go to the call section, I had 3 covered calls expiring on the Friday. And I rolled them. I rolled all of them. Most of them were in the money. And then one was close. Again, if it's super close, I don't want the after hours to get screwed up and assign me. So you can see the close premium, actually, one of them, it actually turned it into a negative because it cost me more to close than I made on the open. However, you'll see down here, like which strike was that, 27. When I opened the new position, it paid out a massive 318, which is, you know, a pretty penny. So it wasn't really a loss per se. I'm just grouping now the individual trades together so I can tell you, all right, I lost this trade. Like on its own, I lost the trade. However, I made bank on the new trade, which is now what, 485% annualized on that. So yeah, 3 rolls. So we'll gray that out and we'll hide it. And then we'll show what's left. So we have 4 covered calls that expire this Friday. They are through 27, 28, 30, and 32. 2 of them are in the money. You'll notice I have 5 synthetic positions, so I did leave 1, again, in case for a pop on Monday, and then I'll sell calls on that. Is that smart? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm doing, you know. All right, so far for these trades here, I did make $727, so not bad. And now I look at my synthetic on SOFI. I do see a question real quick. Can you do MET2 instead of META, PTIR? Yes, you can, but obviously those are double leveraged, right? So that's a thought as well, right? Of course. But, you know, again, this is kind of a leverage play in its own. So doing, I'm okay with doing the regular underlying. But I'm not throwing that out of the equation because I haven't attempted doing this on any leverage funds yet, but I will. I definitely will at some point when I get comfortable. Sunday fun day. Yeah, that's what they say, right? Anyway, so here's my synthetic. What do we got? We got a 26. Again, I added 3 at 26, and now I have 2 at 31. My average cost basis is 28. Okay, so the total cost of all of these synthetic positions, again, we're going to call a synthetic collar, but, you know, buy call, sell put, buy put, $2,204 out of pocket. So far, it's worth $2,539. So I am actually up on the position about $335. Now, if you think about how much capital did I save doing it this way versus the regular wheel strategy, I actually did save $9,600. All right. Moving on to ELF. Again, ELF is just a quick play. This is the one that expires in January. I added 1 contract to the synthetic, and I'm doing covered calls over earnings at the money, but it has dropped. It has dropped to 122. So if it continues to drop, yeah, that's gonna suck. But we'll play it by ear. We'll keep selling calls. We'll keep making money. The difference about this play is I actually made a credit when I started the position, right? Because if you look here, the synthetic, it cost me what, 653, right, in total. And then this covered call, look what this covered call paid me, 978. So I made money opening this position. So I'm already ahead. However, there of course is risk between the downside, right, between the spread in the puts. So here's my current status of the synthetic. Again, I paid 653 out of pocket. It's worth 395, so I am down about 258 bucks on the synthetic currently. But capital saved on this about 9,300. Robinhood, one of my faves. You know, I'm just happy to finally be in Robinhood. But, you know, I know it's jumped up so much, so it's maybe at a high and I'm playing with fire. Who the hell knows? But I started a position at 145. They dropped to 140. So I now have two synthetic contracts, synthetic collar contracts, whatever we're calling it. So that also means I'm selling two covered calls, right? A 141 and a 146, both of which expire this Friday. Both of which seem to be in the money. So we'll play that by ear. The 141 is in danger, right? If they get a big pop after earnings, I'll have to consider rolling this sooner than later, up and out as long as I can, because I want to be, you know, I want this, the primary focus, of course, you know, is income, but I do want growth, obviously. So I'm going to play this semi-aggressive, I'll say. Right now I'm playing it kind of more aggressive than I probably will. I'll play some of these a little different. I don't know. Again, I'm just learning. So bear with me here. So you can see the original purchase price of the two synthetic positions, a little more expensive, because right, bigger stock, volatile stock, expensive stock, 3,342. It's actually worth, because Robinhood went up in price, it's worth 3,985. So my synthetic position, if I closed it out today, is worth 643, right? So that's kind of where we stand there. And if we go over here, what do we got? We got savings of 19,158, which is insanity. I mean, insanity. So now let's go here to the call income. All right. So this is where, yeah, this is where I have how much I made for, I don't know. Can you guys see this? Let me zoom in a little. This is how much, since October is over, I kind of did my account update yesterday. If you guys missed it, go check it out. But this is how much I made. I just started this whole thing mid-October, so this is not even a full month. But this is how much premium I made on Open, SOFI, and ELF. Just covered call premium. So I'm using that as my actual income. And 1 second. Coffee. So I'm showing how much capital I actually used, right? Which includes, again, the downside from the puts. And since I brought in 3,300, that's a monthly yield of 17%. And if I annualize that, multiply it by 12, that's about 209%. Again, just starting off. So obviously the aggressive calls I did, maybe the yield won't be this high going forward. I don't know, but we'll see. We just started. And then we get to the all realized section. And this is kind of where, I'll zoom out a little. This is kind of where you see where we stand. All right. Because again, you have the synthetic expense here. Then you how much you're making on covered calls. And then you have the risk of the puts. All right. So first, you know, excluding the put risk, am I at a profit on any of these? And yes, as we said, ELF, I'm already up 325 bucks. Open, I'm almost flipped because I keep selling calls. This is the first position. I'm almost in a profit there. And these others, you know, it's going to take some time, but I'll get there. I'll get there. And then, of course, if, you know, taking that number down here, total at risk, this includes the downside on the put. So if you think about ELF, I do have a downside risk of 2,500. So if I want to, you know, cover that as well, I do have to make 2,175. And then essentially, you know, you could say playing with house money, right? So I'm using that number as the exposure to whatever, I'm risking, which right now shows to be about $15,000, right? So of that, my total risk, Robinhood is half of it, but I'm okay with that because I like Robinhood. And SoFi, again, it's growing on me. Elf is just a stupid quick play, and then Open is, high risk, high reward. I do want to get some more stable things in here. I'm not saying Palantir is stable. It is. I mean, it's it just does what it does, man. I just want to be a part of that. Overvalued, yeah, whatever. I just want to be involved with it. Now, capital save. We talked about this individually, but you can see basically, I'm saving about 40,000 in what I'm doing, and you may think it's worth it. You may not. I don't know. I think it's worth it. It is a pain in the ass, to learn it at first. To be honest, I avoided it for probably a year and a half, and then I'm like, you know what? Let me just see this, and then because I want to start, doing my own options more so. Because as most of you may know, I did combine accounts. My wife and I had separate brokerage accounts because that's kind of how it was set up. But I moved it all into one, and now since it's in one, it's now in the options account. So I'm going to do more options. I'm going to do essentially as of right now, it's only options and a money market fund. But I don't know what else I'm going to do. If I'm going to buy, any other high yielders as like a placement. I haven't figured that out yet. But right now it's kind of like a redo, right? It's kind of like a restart. But this is where I'm starting. I'm starting with this, and I'm also starting with the wheel. All right. But the wheel has been going. I'll give you a quick update on the wheel as well. That was the update on RODY. Again, RODY is different from the wheel, as you saw. But I'm still trading TSLL like a degenerate. Yep. TSLL is a little more affordable than those other suckers, right? Current price, $21. So it's about $2,100 per contract. You can see I got a hell of a lot of contracts going on. In fact, if I go to the open positions down here, I have 15 contracts open on TSLL, which is, these. So coming up this week, I got a covered call and 2 puts. All right. But yeah, so that's that. TNA, I got 3 contracts open. I got assigned. So now I now have 200 shares actually on the wheel. Again, I didn't really want to do open on both sides, wheel and RODY, but it's kind of how it ended up. But I'll sell aggressive covered calls on Monday. Hopefully open pops to maybe $8. I'll sell covered calls at $8.50. That's my cost basis. All right. And then I won't care if they get assigned, because again, I'm already playing with open on the other side. And then at AST, I got assigned again. 700 shares this time at $3. I know, rip off, but again, that's a $275 cost basis. But this one I'm playing different. I'm actually using the premium income to consider my cost basis, which will net out about 122. Because again, I almost considered this one a loss. ST, it went down, man. It went down under $1. I thought I was going to lose. I thought it was going to go to freaking zero. But at this point, hey, I'm playing it, man. I'll sell covered calls at 150 on Monday. I'm hoping Monday's, in a way, I'm hoping Monday's green. I have plans for a green Monday, and I have plans for a red Monday, as you've seen. But if Monday's green for ST's getting covered calls. I'll sell all 800 shares. We'll have a covered call at 150, and that'll bring in a decent premium, believe it or not. And then again, if they get assigned, good, bye, move on. This was like a kind of risky play that was not, it was different. It's fun to watch, but that's a big drop, right? Again, $3 I paid for them, and the value of the stock is 133. But thankfully, this 3, I made $1.50 per share in premium when I sold it. So technically, the cost basis on these is 150, if that makes sense. All right, BMNU, nothing new there. Again, I got 3 puts. They're finally coming up to expiration this month. Again, I always complain about their options chain. It's not updated yet, last I saw, but when it's updated, it's going to be. I'm going to probably trade this regularly until if the stock price jumps to like 40 or 50, I'll probably get out of it. But again, we'll see. Play it by ear. And then, of course, I have some leaps. I was trying leaps. I've never done leaps, but these are, ones that are still open. I haven't made money on. Whenever I can make money on them, I will. But for now, they're just sitting there collecting dust. But again, here's my open positions: 15 on TSLL, 3 I gotta freeze panes on this, right? Up to row 7. There you go. All right, so 3 on TNA and then 3 on BMNU. So yes, I'm still doing the wheel strategy. I haven't completely converted over to RODY because I do like the wheel strategy. I do. There's no reason I can't do both. So for now, I'm going to do both. Weekly income last week, kind of covered this in the other video. I made 233. But I have all different types of goals now. But for the month of October, I made 3,755 on the wheel. So, but I am changing how I track my income going forward, and it's going to be through this file here. And you can see I'm reflecting a starting balance because I did add 20,000 to this account of 79,000. And my goal for the month of November is simple. It's 50% annualized yield, and that comes to 3,296. That's very doable. Very. In fact, if I go to the wheel, I made 3,755 alone. I hit it, right? If I go to RODY, what I make? I made 3,345. So I almost, I basically hit it on both. So, I mean, I could make this actually a more aggressive number, but I don't know. I'm hesitant on that, to be honest. And also, I did mention I'm going to make a retire. In fact, I'm going to log it here. Retirement goal, and I'll put the month and the year up here. I have to figure it out. I really need to run some numbers, and I'm going to commit to this. I don't want to wrap this. How do you unfreaking wrap this crap? What is clip? Oh, unwrap is overflow. All right. So yeah, retirement goal. So this box here will need to be filled in at some point, right? I don't know. We got to figure it out, but I'm adding it. It's going there. I'll have to give myself a date to come up with a date for that. Yeah, because as you can see, if you run the numbers with a 50% yield, I think like I need to hit 250 to be honest, to be comfortable. And right now that's looking to be September of 2029, a little longer than I want to. Be 47 then. But again, this does not include any deposits to the account. I do plan on depositing money now, as much as I can. And of course, it also depends on this 50%. Am I going to, what's my goal yield? How am I going to deal with that? I have to think about it. But anyway, let's get to some questions and comments because I do have to start my next video in 2 minutes. Let's see. Good morning. Finally made it to a live. Been trying to get up early for 3 weeks. Well, welcome, Nicole Miller. Do you enjoy the RODY content or the other content? Question for AST. What date are you targeting if Green Monday? Probably just Friday. This coming Friday. What is it, the 7th? I'm not going to get anything fancy, to be honest. I could care less about the shares, so I'm going to go aggressive. So if they get called away this Friday, bye-bye, right? If I were you, I'd probably, if you have a lot of shares too and you want to spread it out, I would do some maybe this Friday, some for next Friday. But, it's in the way to me at this point. I'm not just going to sell them, right? I'm still going to play the wheel, but I'm just going to do it a little aggressive because I don't care if they get taken away. But don't go by me. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, so I'm going to have to end the update there. Hopefully that helped. But let me know if you guys have any questions on how the RODY fund works. I'm doing my best to explain it in as much detail as I can. I know it's a little complex, but it's pretty decent once you grasp it. I know I was stubborn at first to try to learn it, but once you do, it's worth it. Especially, if you're looking to learn options on yourself, by yourself, it's just learn everything you can, not just this, right? Learn every single, everything. Every definition, everything. Learn. There's a ton of content out there. Just don't limit yourself. I'm not limiting to this, right? This is just one strategy right now, and I'm loving it. So I'm just going to beat the hell out of it until I come up with something else, and then I'll go from there. All right, guys. As always, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, and this video is for fun and entertainment. So hopefully you had fun. Hopefully you're entertained. If not, come back on the next RODY update, which again, it's usually 2 to 3 times a week because I have fun doing it. I know I don't get a lot of views as much as the other content, but it's just more fun to me because it's my own trades, right? I can make fun of my own trades all day, but you know, which again, are these good? I don't freaking know. We'll find out. We'll find out in the ending. We'll see. But if you enjoy this content, hit the like button. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Outside of that, we'll do a keyword for this video. So let's do a quick keyword. What do you guys got? I know we got to start Guesstimania in a minute. But yeah, for those of you that are curious, I have another video. I'm going live as soon as I end this. It's called Guesstimania. Hope to see you there. But Nikki or Marcia or Double D, do we have a keyword for this before we head out? Keyword. Anyone? There's still 266 of you between X and YouTube. Someone must have a keyword. All right, I'm going to do it myself. It's earnings week. I'll do that. So if you made it this far in the video and you want to prove it, you got to type in the keyword. Keyword is earnings week. All right, because I got a lot of crap on the line here on earnings. So it is what it is. All right, I'm out of here. And I'll see you in the next one in a minute. Later.